Stop scrolling for a second. I need to tell you something that might hurt. You think you're behind in life, don't you? Everyone else seems ahead. Your friends are buying houses, getting married, starting businesses, making bank. And you? You're still figuring things out, still stuck, still struggling. But here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit about feeling behind. You're not actually behind. You're just completely and utterly distracted. Think about it. When did you last focus on one thing? Really focus, without checking your phone, without multitasking, without splitting attention. You can't even watch a movie without scrolling Instagram, can you? Your brain is scattered across 17 different apps and platforms. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Netflix, YouTube, WhatsApp, dating apps. You consume more information in one day than medieval people did lifetimes. And you wonder why you feel overwhelmed, why nothing feels complete. Here's what really happens when you're constantly distracted like this. Time becomes this weird, warped thing that slips through your fingers. Days blur together, weeks disappear, months vanish, years evaporate. You look up and suddenly everyone else has made progress, but they didn't move faster. They just moved with intention. While you were distracted by everything, they focused on something. This is the real tragedy of modern life, not lack of opportunity. It's the complete destruction of your ability to pay attention. Your attention span is shorter than a goldfish now. 8 seconds. 8 seconds before you need new stimulation, new content, new distraction. You've trained your brain to crave instant gratification and constant novelty. So when real progress requires months of boring, repetitive work, your brain literally rebels. It screams for something more exciting. You start a project Monday. By Wednesday, you're researching something else. You begin learning Spanish. 2 weeks later, you're watching coding tutorials. You plan to write a book. Next month, you're planning a podcast. This isn't commitment issues. This is attention hijacking by design. Every app, every platform, every service is engineered for maximum addiction. They've weaponized your dopamine system against your own life goals. Red notification dots, infinite scroll, variable reward schedules, personalized algorithms. They've made distraction more appealing than your actual dreams. And the worst part? You blame yourself for lacking willpower. But willpower was never designed to fight billion-dollar psychological warfare. You're not weak, you're not lazy, you're not behind. You're just fighting an unfair battle with the wrong weapons. And once you understand this, everything changes. Everything becomes possible. Because here's what nobody tells you about focus in 2024. Your brain wasn't built for this level of constant stimulation. Think about it. Your ancestors had maybe 10 people to compare themselves to. You have 10 million people showing their highlight reels every single day. Your caveman brain sees this and thinks everyone's outpacing you massively. But that's like comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to everyone else's movie trailer. Here's the brutal truth about why you feel so behind. You're measuring your Chapter 3 against everyone else's Chapter 20. You're comparing your rough draft to their published bestseller. You're judging your practice session against their Grammy performance. And social media algorithms make this comparison addiction even worse. They literally profit from your feelings of inadequacy and FOMO. The more inadequate you feel, the more you scroll seeking validation. The more you scroll, the more ads they show you. It's a perfect business model built on your psychological suffering. But here's where the hope begins to emerge from this darkness. Every single person you think is ahead was exactly where you are. Every entrepreneur you admire had months of feeling completely lost. Every artist you follow had years of creating terrible work. Every influencer you envy started with 0 followers and terrible content. The difference isn't talent, luck, or some magical productivity system. The difference is they learned to ignore the noise and focus inward. They discovered something revolutionary that changes everything about progress. Progress isn't linear. It's completely invisible for long periods. Think about how a bamboo plant grows in nature. For the first 4 years, you see almost nothing happening above ground. But underground, an incredible root system is developing silently. Then in year 5, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. Your skills, your character, your future success works exactly the same way. All those hours you think you're wasting are building your foundation. All those failed attempts are teaching you what doesn't work. All those boring practice sessions are rewiring your neural pathways. All those moments of doubt are strengthening your resilience muscle. You're not behind. You're in your underground growth phase. And the people who seem ahead might actually be more fragile because they never built deep roots. They can't weather storms. They optimized for quick wins instead of sustainable long-term growth. But you're different because you're willing to do the invisible work. You're building something that will last decades, not just months. And here's the secret that will completely shift your perspective forever. Time feels slow when you're focused on everyone else's timeline, but time accelerates when you focus on your own daily progress. When you stop comparing, you start compounding your efforts exponentially. Every day of focused work builds on the previous day's momentum. Small improvements compound into massive transformations over time, but only when you're paying attention to your own game. The moment you look sideways, you lose this magical compounding effect. This is why successful people seem to have supernatural focus powers. They don't have better genetics or more willpower than you do, they just learn to protect their attention like their life depends on it. Because in the modern economy, your attention literally is your life. Your career, your relationships, your happiness all follow your attention. Where your attention goes consistently, your life inevitably follows. So the question isn't whether you're behind or ahead of others. The question is whether you're paying attention to what actually matters. Are you investing your attention in building or just consuming constantly? Are you focused on your growth or everyone else's highlight reel? Are you playing your own game or trying to win someone else's? Because here's what happens when you finally make this crucial shift. You stop measuring your life by other people's timelines and start creating your own. You realize that every moment you spent feeling behind was actually preparation time. All those detours, delays, and supposed setbacks suddenly make perfect sense now. They weren't keeping you back. They were building your unique foundation. Sarah from college got married at 25, had kids at 28. You're 32, single, still figuring things out, and you felt broken somehow. But Sarah's getting divorced now while you're finally discovering your true passion. Who's really ahead here? The question itself is completely meaningless, isn't it? Mark started his business at 21, became a millionaire by 25. You started at 30, struggled for years, people called you a late bloomer. But Mark burned out, lost everything, started over at 35, while you built something sustainable because you took time to learn deeply. There's no universal timeline for human development, growth, or success at all. There are only different paths, different speeds, and different definitions of winning. The moment you truly internalize this, everything in your life changes fundamentally. You stop rushing through experiences just to check them off some imaginary list. You stop making decisions based on what looks good on social media. You stop choosing careers, relationships, and goals to impress other people completely. Instead, you start asking yourself what you actually want from this life. Not what you should want, not what others expect, but what genuinely matters. And here's the beautiful paradox that most people completely miss about this. The moment you stop trying to catch up is when you finally start moving. When you quit comparing, you discover your actual strengths and unique talents. When you stop rushing, you start making better decisions with clearer thinking. When you focus inward instead of outward, real progress actually begins happening. Because you're no longer wasting mental energy on things outside your control. You're not spending hours scrolling through everyone else's achievements and milestones. You're not second-guessing every choice because someone else chose differently yesterday. Instead, all that energy gets redirected into building something meaningful and lasting. Your attention becomes a laser beam instead of scattered light going everywhere, and that's when the magic really starts happening in your personal journey. You start noticing opportunities that were always there but you missed completely. You begin attracting people who value depth over speed, substance over appearances. You develop skills not because they're trendy but because they genuinely interest you. Your relationships improve because you're present instead of constantly comparing and judging. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you chose it for real reasons. Your entire life starts aligning with who you actually are, not others. But here's the most powerful shift that happens when you embrace this mindset. You realize that being distracted wasn't just wasting your time, it was wasting you. Every hour spent in comparison was an hour not spent building yourself. Every day lost to distraction was a day your real dreams stayed dormant. Every moment of feeling behind was actually a moment of not being present. And presence, right here, right now, that's where your power lives completely. That's where clarity comes from, where intuition speaks, where wisdom is born. That's where you can actually hear what your soul is trying to say. Not the voice of society, not the voice of comparison, but your voice. The voice that knows your timing is perfect even when it feels wrong. The voice that knows your path is valid even when others don't understand. the voice that knows you're exactly where you need to be right now. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video today. Stop checking how everyone else is doing for just 1 week. Completely stop. No social media comparisons, no asking friends about their latest achievements or updates. Just focus on what you're building, what you're learning, what you're becoming. Notice how much mental space opens up when you're not constantly measuring yourself. Notice how much clearer your own goals become without all that external noise. Notice how much more energy you have for actual progress instead of worry. Because you're not behind in life. You never were. That was always illusion. You're just exactly where someone with your experiences would be right now. Someone with your challenges, your background, your specific circumstances, and unique journey. Someone with your dreams, your fears, your particular way of processing this world. And that someone, that's you, is doing better than you think today. You're growing, you're learning, you're becoming who you're meant to be slowly on your timeline, at your pace, in your completely unique and perfect way. Stop being distracted by everyone else's highlight reel and start writing your real story. Your story, your timing, your definition of success and fulfillment in life. Because that's the only story that actually matters in the end anyway.